Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about Taylor Heinicke and Carson Wentz and the Washington Commanders quarterback situation and if they should switch to Carson Wentz. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Super close to 10,000 subscribers, trying to get there by the end of the year, so please help me do that, and also hit that like button and turn on that notification bell. So ever since Taylor Heinicke took over as the starting quarterback after Carson Wentz went down with that fractured finger, the Commanders have really turned their season around. I mean, they're 5-1-1 with Taylor Heinicke as a starter, and it's been relatively smooth sailing. Besides the Vikings game, of course, up until the Giants game, it was going pretty well. And of course, they didn't lose, but they didn't win as well. So Heinicke hasn't been playing terrible, but he definitely hasn't been playing amazing during their last few weeks, during their victories. And people, for a while, some people have been saying, hey, we should move to Carson Wentz. I think the majority still want Heinicke though, and I still believe Heinicke should be the starter at least for another week, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I just wanted to get that out of the way before people were going to go off in the comments. But let me just read this right here from Ron Rivera. This is a tweet from Ben Static. Ron Rivera maintains that he's comfortable with Taylor Heinicke at quarterback and not necessarily considering Carson Wentz as the starter soon. He'll be the primary backup whenever he's activated. This all feels more written in pencil than pen, but it's Heinicke's show now. And I just think it's unfair, even though Heinicke, again, has not been playing amazing. First off, neither was Wentz, and second off, they went 5-1-1 with him. And what I said was, okay, for me, if I was in charge of the decision to bench Heinicke, I have to see like 2 losses in a row with 2 bad performances, or 2 out of 3 losses and he had bad performances in those losses. But they just tied. They didn't even lose a game yet since that Vikings game. Like, he's 5-1-1. And it's not all because of him, but he's definitely contributed to that. And they were 2-4 with Wentz. So definitely things have changed, and they're a different team now than they were then. But a lot of that has to do with Taylor Heinicke and also Brian Robinson as well. I just don't think it's fair to go out and start Carson Wentz against the Giants next week, not this week, but next week, when Heinicke has only lost 1 out of 7 games. I just don't think that's fair to him. If Heinicke goes out and plays really poorly in this Giants game, okay, then the conversation becomes real, and maybe you actually do start Carson Wentz. But the thing is, I don't think we win that game against the Giants with Carson Wentz as our starter. I mean, he would definitely have made some throws that Heinicke didn't make, wasn't able to make. But the Terry McLaurin touchdown that Heinicke made, it wasn't an amazing throw, but considering the pressure he was under, it was a really good throw. And Wentz would have gotten sacked, in my opinion, on that play. And the 4th and 4 to Curtis Samuel, I don't think Carson Wentz makes Taylor Heinicke just more clutch than Wentz in general. So I think you got to wait a little bit. You got to wait a little bit. And Hal, I know some people want Hal, and they're like, oh, Brock Purdy from the 49ers helped them win. I don't know. I still think you have more of a chance with Wentz and Taylor Heinicke than you do with Sam Howell. Yeah, that's my thought. If you're ever up in a game by a lot, in that Texans game, I would have put in Hal at the end there just to give him some reps, so that, not really so that you can see if he can start for you, but just, give him some more reps and see what he's got. Because I just think throwing him under the fire right now would just not be a good situation when you got Heinicke, who's been playing well, and you have Wentz, who, could play. Or, I mean, Heinicke's been playing okay, and, so could Wentz. And let's see, other tweets. Yeah, and if Carson Wentz is activated, he will be the primary backup, but right now it's Hal. And you look at Taylor Heinicke's stats. They're not amazing. He's played in 7 games this year. Completion percentage about 62%, so a little bit down from last year at 65, which 65 is pretty good. And then, average is about the same, 0.1 yards less. And then touchdown to interception ratio, it's pretty similar to what it was last year. The interceptions are down, though, because in 7 games this year, he's on pace, basically, for the 20 touchdowns he had in 16 games, around the same pace that he was last year. But the interceptions are close to, a third down. So that is that is an improvement right there. Sacked, he's been sacked, less. And the pass rating is a little bit higher than last year, and the quarterback rating a little bit lower. So the stats are what they are. Not a great QB, and not like these are low tier starter quarterback numbers, and I think that's what he is. He's a elite backup to low tier starter, nothing more than that. And then you look at Carson Wentz so far this year. He's got more touchdowns than Heinicke, which is crazy. But I mean, if you think about it, Wentz did play 6 games this year, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and so very similar stats. Completion percentage about the same, average completion a little bit lower, and then Heinicke's got a little bit of a higher pass rating, and Heinicke got sacked fewer times than Wentz did. So I would say Heinicke's stats a little bit better than Wentz, but because the completion percentage is about the same. Touchdown to interception ratio, Heinicke's got a little bit better, and the pass rating's better, and he's gotten sacked fewer times. So, and then you add in the locker room stuff, the teammates love him, and how they just really, really play for him. I think that gives you the edge for Heinicke, and also they've been winning with him. So, and I know the people who want Wentz, and I understand it. I do understand the people who want Wentz, because sometimes I'm like, hey, I don't know, maybe Wentz makes a few of these throws, but then I see, the pressure that Heinicke evades sometimes. I'm like, okay, Wentz isn't evading that. So I think you give Heinicke at least another week, probably 2, unless he really, really plays poorly against the Giants, because that is a must-win. So if you lose that game, and Heinicke is the reason why, maybe you move on to Carson Wentz. But I think there's a lot of reasons why you keep Heinicke for now until he really makes you say otherwise and change your decision. Heinicke has been far from perfect, but his teammates rally around him. And one argument that the people who want Wentz to start have is that it's a totally different team. They ran the ball, or they're running the ball way more now than they were before, and that is true. And Brian Robinson didn't play much with Wentz, but here's the thing I would say is that part of the reason they passed so much is because of Wentz, and they still had Gibson, who was good, and people forget. Brian Robinson has really only been, he really started hitting his stride maybe the last 3 weeks from the Texans game on, and even the Texans game wasn't great. The last 2 games, he's been really, really good. But before that, he was, solid. He wasn't great. And, Gibson was better than him for at least the first 3-ish, 4 weeks that, Brian Robinson came back from, the incident. So you could argue that, it really wasn't Brian Robinson that made them change to, running the ball a ton. I think it partly is, but they could have done the same thing with Gibson, at least in the, because, again, Brian Robinson wasn't lighting up the world his first few weeks back. He was, Gibson was playing better, and everyone was saying that. Now, I think Brian Robinson is playing a lot better, or is a better runner than Gibson, and Gibson's still a really good pass catcher, and I want them to use him a little bit more as a pass catcher, because he's got really good skills in that. But for me, my final verdict, Heinicke, at least one more game. If you lose the Giants game, just because it is that important, then you can bench him for Wentz and see what Wentz can do, because Wentz's sample size was small, really 5 games, because that Bears game he was hurt. The first 2 games he played well. The next 2, he did not play so well against the Cowboys and the Eagles, and the Titans game was and then the Bears game is just an incomplete. He was playing with a fractured hand. So, I can see both sides, but I think you got to stick with Heinicke for now, at least another game or 2, and see how you do. And if you do beat the Giants, I'm sticking with Heinicke the rest of the way. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new. Did a stream yesterday, kind of just talking about a bunch of different things, recapping the game and answering questions from you guys. So check that out, and I'll probably have a playoff video out this week. Peace, guys.